Welcome to a ravenous new episode of the Demonic Compendium, the show where I discuss the mythology, design, and game history of your favorite Megami Tensei demons. July is a great month for having a voracious appetite, with barbecues, ice cream, and plenty of fantastic drinks. So be sure to pace yourself as you eat and try not to choke, because today, we're talking about Nidhoggr. Now, before we get too into this, allow me to quickly address the pronunciation of this demon. Some sources pronounce the R at the end of it, while others don't. Apparently, the proper Scandinavian pronunciation is actually closer to Nidhoggr, but for the rest of this video, I am just going to be using Nidhoggr, which is what they say in most of the games. In Norse mythology, Nidhoggr is a powerful serpentine dragon whose name can roughly translate as Malice Biter. It lives beneath the world tree, Yggdrasil, and survives by gnawing on the roots for sustenance. In some stories, it's believed that Nidhoggr is actually entangled in the roots, which is what prevents its ravenous appetite from spreading to other realms. This powerful dragon serves to devour the souls and bodies of those who pass through the roots of the tree before reaching Nastrand, a particularly nasty region of the Norse underworld where murderers and people who sit in the manga aisle wind up. Sadly, Nidhoggr doesn't get to interact with very many folks that he's not eating, except for the squirrel, Ratatoskr, who delivers messages from the dragon at the roots to the eagle at the top, which may be either Hresvelgr or Vidofnir depending on who you ask. Unfortunately, this squirrel often twists their messages to one another, essentially turning it into the ancient Norse version of a bunch of yo mama so fat jokes. Like most Norse figures, there are some details about what will happen to Nidhoggr at Ragnarok, the end of the world, and basically, look, everyone who dies is gonna pass through those roots, so his fate is basically an endless buffet. Beyond that, this dragon seems to come out of the whole apocalypse thing relatively unscathed. Nidhoggr's Compendium entry from Persona 3 Reload refers to it as an evil dragon that gnaws on the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. It rules over the evil snakes that live there, capable of surviving Ragnarok by feeding on the slain corpses that drift to it. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, please consider commenting, subscribing, maybe even checking out the Patreon. It honestly does all help a lot. Thank you so much. Moving on. Design-wise, one neat thing I want to bring up first is that Kaneko's design of Yggdrasil, the tree itself, actually does have a large draconic tail coming out from the roots, which could very well be a direct reference to Nidhoggr as part of the tree's lore. Now, as for Nidhoggr itself, it's just... Look, you know what? Full disclosure, I have no f***ing idea why it looks like this. I want to clarify, I do really like Nidhoggr's design in Megami Tensei, but I don't have any fun details about why Kaneko made it this white, veiny, multi-armed monstrosity with human teeth. I can sit here and guess that him living in the tree roots could mean Kaneko based him on subterranean worms or grubs, and that the teeth and arms may just be in reference to him pulling corpses into his mouth to eat them, but I want to be clear, that's all just guesswork on my part. I love it when I have something fun to tell you all, like Kaneko based the design on a specific old painting, or an obscure comic book character, or a fast food mascot, but this thing, as far as I can tell, it's just a pretty cool looking monster. It doesn't even really resemble many versions of Nidhoggr in ancient art, which usually has it more snake-like or with dragon wings. Speaking of, there's actually a Demi-Kids version of Nidhoggr that looks fairly similar, but actually has a proper face, and he's shoveling human skulls into his mouth like a squirrel with some nuts. Also, this version does have little dragon wings, so that, coupled with the actually eating corpses thing, means that this one is arguably closer to its mythological origins. You know what's not, though? It's old Megami Tensei design, where it's just this gross, blue frog thing with kissy lips. I really don't have a lot to say about this one. I don't even want to be looking at it anymore, but I have to for a little bit longer because, as far as game history goes, Nidhoggr appeared as an optional boss fight in Megami Tensei 2. You can fight him while exploring the Tower of Daedalus and get a Devil Analyzer program for beating him. Nidhoggr appears as a mini-boss battle in the first Digital Devil Saga. While exploring Ajna, 5 brutes will all transform into wee little baby Nidhoggrs, but the one in the middle is much tougher and the leader. If you kill off some of the weaker ones, they will call for reinforcements, and if the leader needs to, he will cannibalize the smaller ones to grow bigger and more powerful. On one hand, I think this is a nice mini-boss battle that ties nicely into Nidhogg's origins, but on the other hand, this is an entire game about basically eating each other, so you really ain't all that special here, buddy. Nidhoggr has also had a few roles in the Devil Children series. In Black Book, he appears as a boss fight during a quest in Forestland where you have to track down who stole the golden apple pie. He also has an incredibly minor role in Demikid's Light version. During one of Wartak's demonary quizzes, he asks the question, which demon can't stop eating? To which the answer is Nidhoggr, which is what Nidhoggr is called in that series. One of my favorite moments for this demon is in Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. See, in the Fire Emblem series, Nidhoggr is the name of a bow weapon that appears in a few games, like the Sacred Stones and Awakening. So naturally, as both a bow in Fire Emblem and a demon in Megami Tensei, the Nidhoggr bow for Eleonora actually has a lot of physical references to the demon, like the area around the grip having his gross human teeth. I guess it's also worth mentioning that since Eleonora is a playable unit in Fire Emblem Heroes, she can also fight alongside the Heroes' original character version of Nidhoggr, who is this crazy, stupid, hot, drunk woman. There are currently two versions of Nidhoggr in the game, her original Quieting Dose unit, and the Days of Healing, where she's in more traditional Japanese garb. While absent from the original Persona 3, Nidhoggr appears in Fess, Portable, and Reload as a member of the newly added Aeon Arcana, while in most other Persona titles, he's a member of the Hermit Arcana. Speaking of, here's a slightly bizarre thing about this demon. In most MegaTen games, the demon is called Nidhoggr with only one D. However, in both Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden, including the updated versions of it for modern systems, they elected to spell it with two Ds. The reason I bring this up is because with the recent announcement of Persona 4 Revival, I am curious if that game will continue to spell Nidhoggr with two Ds or revert to a single one like in Reload. Cause, frankly, the only double Ds I want to see on Nidhoggr are, well, I already talked about the Fire Emblem Heroes character, right? Also, despite being absent from Persona 5 and Royal, Nidhoggr does appear in Persona 5 The Phantom X as one of the guild bosses and, as far as I can tell, is an unlockable persona for Wonder, but I can't say for myself yet. I'm still pretty new to the game, but still, I like that we're seeing some figures in this title that we didn't get to see in regular Persona 5. And there you have it, Nidhoggr, the starving subterranean serpent snugly snared in soil to swallow souls and talk squirrels. Did I leave out something you thought was important? Was I just plain wrong about something? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to let me know who you'd like to see me talk about in future episodes. That's going to do it for this episode of the Demonic Compendium, and I will see you next time. But be careful while you rest that a demon doesn't take over your body.